Hi, and welcome back to Ivy English. I'm Karen.
And I'm Chris Gorski.
Today is February 25th. We're on page 76 in your magazines. And today we are going to give you, as promised, part 2 of the article that we started yesterday entitled Presentation Skills Guide.
So we talked about some basics of giving a PowerPoint presentation, and we honestly learned some great starter rules, maybe in a more advanced rule, one that I personally feel that a person that must give speeches regularly should be ready to anticipate problems, meaning if there's a problem with the power and you don't have electricity, you need to be able to deliver your presentation without it. You need to be 100% ready. And part of this is always having 2 or 3 funny, short, and interesting stories in your back pocket that you can take out at any time. Should you be with a group that you're unfamiliar with, but let's say you need to spend an hour with them and you kind of want to get to know them. You should have
a little bit.
That's right. A couple of anecdotes. Anecdotes are short, kind of witty, funny stories, and you need to be able to bring them out at a certain time. And you should practice them. This is for people that need to give speeches regularly. You should always have that speech ready. And honestly, I can deliver it in 2 languages because I never know when someone's going to say, Chris, would you like to say a few words?
Chris made an extremely good point because when you listen to good speakers speak, it sounds like they are just talking off the top of their head, but they have prepared very carefully.
That's right. It's been rehearsed. There's been time practice. There's been times where a person has reflected upon they gave that speech previously. How can I do it better? What do I need to change? And that will always add to your storytelling and speaking presentation skills.
So always over-prepare. Have a lot of stuff ready that you may not use, but that you can pull out and use in case you need to.
Right.
Okay, so let's get started. Our title again, same as yesterday, is Presentation Skills Guide. Creating good PowerPoint slides is an effective way to improve your presentation, but there are other things to watch out for too. Perhaps the best way to demonstrate this is to examine some common mistakes.
Our subtitle here is Saying Too Much. Sure, your goal as a speaker is to inform people, but you don't want to give them too much information all at once. Rather than discussing everything related to your topic, pick the most important points and decide how to best present them. Too many details can be difficult for the audience to remember.
Being boring at the beginning. Losing an audience's engagement at any point during your presentation is a bad sign, but it is especially a problem at the beginning. This is where you should grab the audience's attention. This can be done by telling an interesting story relating to your topic, presenting an amazing fact or statistic, or asking an interesting question. If you lose your audience's interest at the beginning, it will be hard to get it back later.
Bad hand gesture choices. This one can be tricky. If you make very exaggerated movements with your arms and hands, it can distract your audience. On the other hand, if you keep your hands by your sides the whole time, you can come across as unnatural and boring. Experts say you should use simple gestures and use them fairly often. This can add drama and generate interest in what you are saying.
As you can see, there is a lot to remember during a presentation. With some practice, though, anyone can become a great presenter and public speaker. Now, that's some strong encouragement, but man, it takes some practice and experience. You have to kind of make some mistakes along the way before you'll get what you really have to do to be better.
Yeah, the more you do it, the better you'll get. Practice makes perfect. Okay, so Karen, I have a question for you. So part of being a good PowerPoint presenter is being an effective speaker. And so the question to you is, or perhaps you have a side question here, who is a favorite speaker of yours? And this is not what is like one of your favorite speeches from like the past. I want to know what person that you've heard speak is the most effective speaker, or a related question to that.
Now, as I think about that, I think there must be some people that I will listen to them no matter what they talk about because I know they'll be interesting. So actually, what my mind does is it tells me there are 2 people who are extremely good speakers. They're just excellent. I mean, they are impeccable. You cannot fault them on anything. They're such good speakers. You'd think that they'd be my favorite, but what happens is whenever I hear them starting to speak, I tune out.
So You didn't tell me the answer to this. I'm really excited to hear.
Okay, there are two people, and they're very well known, and both are politicians.
Okay.
And they come across really well. Both are really attractive and very charismatic and everything. And their speeches are really excellent.
I need to know these names. There's such buildup. Who is it? One I feel has to be Obama.
You're right. And the other one is because I am now working on my French listening.
Is it Emmanuel Macron?
That's right.
Is he well regarded as a speech giver?
Yeah, he's impeccable. He is so good.
I know he's good, but I didn't know he was like that level.
Oh, he's amazing.
I didn't know that.
He's an academic. So, some people will give speeches and they'll use like really like blue collar language and things to connect with the people. He's academic. He can go up and he can go down or stay in the middle. I mean, he just is in total control. And his cadence and everything like that, his intonation, his presentation is absolutely impeccable. It is faultless. So I hear 2 words from him and I tune out and do my exercises because I listen to the news while I'm exercising. He's the other one. I just can't stand it. It's cloying that they are so good.
That's interesting you bring up Obama because I also cited him as one of the best living public speakers.
Yeah.
But perhaps for a different reason. And if you listen to Obama like on a TV interview where he's not prepared, where he's relaxed,
then it's fine.
And he makes all these presentation faux pas, these mistakes you should not make. So Obama, what I think he does best is that he is an exceptional preparer
and deliverer.
And that's right. His delivery is impeccable.
Yeah.
But that emphasizes the point we made earlier that practice makes perfect. He is a very messy, casual speaker, but an incredibly precise speaker when he knows it counts. And I think whether you agree or disagree, everyone agrees that, hey, it's good to be ready.
It's good to be ready, yeah. And I found I have that reaction to anybody who is prepared so well that it's impeccable. I just can't listen to it. It's really kind of awful. And I have found also that some people who make their living from presenting, like excellent podcasters, I could give you some names. When they're presenting their podcast, they're just an expert. Again, when they are interviewed, it's full of ums and ahs and false starts. It's full of that, and that will also drive you nuts.
Yeah, I'm surprised that people that have this experience don't know to turn it on, to reduce the ums. Use the quiet pause when you're thinking. Use the quiet pause to emphasize the moment. I'm surprised it doesn't happen more, that Obama is so sloppy in a casual setting.
But I think what happens is they are so confident that they are not afraid of being themselves because they know their content will be solid, they can deliver. All that stuff just comes as they're working out their thoughts.
And that comes as you gain mastery. So if you're not a confident speaker yet, it's something that as you do and you do more, you just gain a mastery of it. And you should not fear the current moment because it will lead you to better places for the future.
That's right. So that's enough of that. So this is just a personal thing I found. If you're too polished, it may put some people off, but you should actually work to be really polished. You probably are not in danger of being too polished. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. Creating good PowerPoint slides is an effective way to improve your presentation. But there are other things to watch out for, too. So you start out with good slides. Yesterday, we mainly gave you things like the 5-5-5 rule, the 10-20-30 rule. If you don't remember, go back to yesterday's article, okay, or part of the article. So getting the slides in shape is one thing, but you have to watch out for other things as well. Perhaps the best way to demonstrate this is to examine some common mistakes. So now we're going to teach you with negative examples.
That's right. Learn from others. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. And, in my opinion, steal from the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Good art is all stolen.
Absolutely.
Anybody will tell you that. Okay.
Let's continue. We have a subtitle here, so saying too much. And the sentence begins, sure, your goal as a speaker is to inform people, but you don't want to give them too much information all at once.
Now, I commit this mistake or have committed it a lot in the past.
Oh, yeah. Same.
When I gave pronunciation workshops, which I'm still giving, there's one series coming up. As you hear this, I think the last one just finished. I would try to squeeze in as much information as I could. So all of the things that I teach in one whole semester, I would try to crowd into 5.5 hours of a workshop.
That's a lot.
And so the funny thing was the students would say, they're all exhausted, but they say, this was not long enough. They should make the workshop longer.
Right.
Which tells you that there was a lot of solid content. But that's not the best way to make the best of your brain's energy, because they were certainly exhausted. They were just greedy for more because they felt they didn't get the whole story and they didn't have enough time. So I think the intent was good. My intent was to be generous, but that does not sort of jive with the way our brains work.
Right.
And people do not remember more than 3 points. So when you give a talk or a presentation or write an article, make 3 points and that's it.
Let's continue. Rather than discussing everything related to your topic, pick the most important points and decide how to best present them.
And as I told you, the magic number is 3. Just pick 3 because we won't remember anymore.
Our next sentence says, too many details can be difficult for the audience to remember.
That's absolutely true. If the subject comes up and it kind of jogs our memory, we may think of, oh, this story I heard from a speaker. But without some kind of thing jogging your memory, you probably won't remember it. If you work hard to remember something, you'll remember those 3 big points.
Just for me personally here, this is a very personal point. If you guys listen to us regularly, if you listen to my programs and enjoy, you know I love to add these little colorful historical details. Sometimes it's too much. I know that. I have a problem with being concise. But for me, the real love of history comes from the details. Not like the big, well, there was a war and then there was peace and then there was war. I don't care about that.
Yes.
I love the details and the finer points. Personally, the broad strokes don't interest me at all. And if you write strictly broad strokes, you will not capture me. But this is me personally. And because I have the microphone, I'm adding the details.
You're dang well going to hear what I have to say.
You better believe it.
Actually, what Chris is saying sounds like it is sort of overturning what we just said, but it is not. So you have your 3 main points. That's your structure. That's the tripod that holds things up. But you can throw in these little stories, and very often my students have told me those are the things they like best about the class, and I feel the same way because working with Chris, he will often tell some really great stories about stuff I didn't know about. I thought, oh, wow, never knew that. So those sound like contradictory things, but they are not. The structure stays the same, but throw in the interesting stories.
Yeah, it's not a criticism. It's just, every presenter is going to be a little different.
That's right. And those stories kind of keep our interest because usually they're kind of humorous or surprising or whatever. Okay, let's move on to our next paragraph. It has a header that says being boring at the beginning. And remember that this is telling you what not to do. This is not advising you to be boring at the beginning, just like it's not advising you to say too much. All right, so what do you have to watch out for? Losing an audience's engagement at any point during your presentation is a bad sign, but it is especially a problem at the beginning because you have a few seconds to either grab your audience or to lose them completely, and it's right at the beginning. So you better not be boring at the beginning.
First impressions matter. Think of a concert. When this big band comes out, they don't play their kind of 4th album, 7th track in record song, right? They come out with a banger. They come out with a big song that everyone knows and everyone can sing along to, and it grabs their engagement. Concerts are really good examples of kind of thinking about how you can flow through certain things. They start strong. You have a couple hits, peppered through, and then they have a little bit of small detail here and there in between for the long-term fans. But at the end of the show, there will always be one of their very most famous songs, if not their very most famous song, at the very end.
Right, to go out with a bang.
That's right. You go out with a bang and you send them home with a smile, wanting more. But you don't put all your biggest songs in the front 20 minutes and then song you've never heard of at the end. That's right. That would be a terrible, terrible set for a band.
It would be like a balloon deflating, right? Not exciting at the end. Right. And there's another thing. It's not just your content has to be interesting. Your energy has to be there because you can hear in just 2 syllables whether a person is from America or if they're from London or if they're from Taiwan or if they're from China. Just 2 syllables, you already know what their accent is. So that means with 2 syllables, we've already kind of pinned you down. We know a lot about you. Another thing that we listen for is energy. And if you say, well, a long time ago, as soon as we hear that, we're tuning out because your energy is missing. Right. With no energy, If you're not going to put the energy in, we're not going to listen.
This is called the hook.
Yeah.
And you should always be thinking about your hook for your story. You should always be thinking about the hook for your presentation. When we say hook, we're thinking, again, fishing. What gets you to grab the attention of the audience? And if you don't have a good hook in the beginning, you should be spending more time thinking about one, because that's going to help make your story, it's going to help your presentation and maintain your audience.
Next sentence, this is where you should grab the audience's attention. And we've already made that point, because if you don't do it then it's done for. You are done for. You've lost your chance. This can be done by telling an interesting story relating to your topic, presenting an amazing fact or statistic, or asking an interesting question. Now, I would advise you to memorize those 3 points because they're going to come up in the questions.
It's also just good advice, but yeah.
It's good advice, but remember, tell an interesting story that relates to your topic. Present an amazing fact or statistic, or ask an interesting question, because that involves the audiences. That will get them thinking. They will be participating more actively.
If you're taking cues from Hollywood, this is also at the point in your presentation where if you're going to tell a story that seems like it goes nowhere, you need to bring it back later, because audiences eat that up. And
That's right.
There is a story, I remember as a child, my scout leader, my Boy Scout leader, told us a story, and I can't tell you for the life of me what the story was about. It was about a blue golf ball, and this guy hits it, and it disappears in the sky. And I was just thinking, what was the point? He was a really good storyteller. Rich Slazak was a great storyteller. And I just thought, I was like, what was this goofy story he told?
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, and so he's talking later, and he's just having a conversation, and he starts telling a second story. And at the very end of the story, I remember, like, the joke is that the blue golf ball comes out of nowhere and pops this guy in the head. And so It was this story from like an hour ago. And thinking about this guy told this long, detailed, meandering story about who knows what. Everyone was confused. But because he brought it back at the end, I still remember this. And it's just something we really like in our storytelling.
We get a jolt of a brain chemical that makes us feel proud of ourselves for making the connection.
That connection, that's right. And he deliberately did it. And to this day, I'm very impressed with it. And I know why you see it so much in Hollywood. You can try that too once you kind of master the fundamentals.
Okay. I have been reading strange stories from a Chinese studio from the Qing Dynasty. All those stories do it.
Really?
All of them bring it back. You're reading something at the beginning, some detail. Well, he liked to collect stones or something like that.
Right.
And then it will come out at the end.
Right.
It will be part of the plot or part of the resolution of the plot. So definitely you should do that. Okay. If you lose your audience's interest at the beginning, it will be hard to get it back later, often impossible.
Our final unit here begins with bad hand gesture choices. This one can be tricky. If you make very exaggerated movements with your arms and hands, it can distract your audience. I don't normally see people overusing their hands. To me, it's the underusing.
I see it in speech contests. People go,
yes, that's
number
true.
one, and
right.
they'll stick out one finger. And that's really mechanical. Don't do that.
You know what I have a problem with when I'm teaching my kids like early speaking abilities? They start rocking back and forth like with their pelvis, their hips, and I'll stand next to them and exaggerate it, and just to show them how ridiculous they are.
And they get the point?
They really get the point because it's always funny. It's they just do this weird rocking motion back and forth.
Or some will be twisting their hair or twirling a pen.
Pulling their shirt down.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's continue. On the other hand, if you keep your hands by your sides the whole time, you could come across as unnatural and boring. You come across stiff.
I think of a wooden toy soldier.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Actually, I call him a soldier. That's exactly what I use. Let's continue. Experts say you should use simple gestures and use them fairly often.
That's right. Just the gestures that you use normally when you're telling your friends a story.
This can add drama and generate interest in what you are saying.
And this is really true because it makes you look comfortable and also really engaged, really involved in your story. Okay, we have 2 short lines left. As you can see, there is a lot to remember during a presentation. Now, at first, maybe it will help to memorize the rules that we've given you, but you shouldn't memorize them mechanically and try to apply them mechanically. You need to internalize them. With some practice, though, anyone can become a great presenter, and public speaker. And that practice part is really important, but it does no good to practice things the old way and to never fix anything or apply what you've learned. You have to take the rules and really try to apply them. Okay, we have a few questions for you here at the end.
The following PowerPoint slide was made by David for his presentation. From A to F below, choose the statements that explain what's wrong with this slide.
So let's describe the slide a bit. First of all, there is a very large, dark title here. It says, Tips for Making a Useful Marketing Survey. Now, you can see right away, I think it's too long.
Right, it's too long, it's very wordy. And then, sliding on down, we have a tiny graphic and a lot of words.
Right. The first line is, why is it necessary for a company to make a marketing survey? This one's too long, too, and it's got a lot of words we don't need.
Boring question. What are some useful tools for making a marketing survey?
Right. We could just say marketing surveys, some useful tools.
Right.
And there we are, 5 words.
How can we collect data for a marketing survey?
Okay, data collection. Just use data collection. We're done.
After collecting data, how should we analyze it?
Okay, data.
Analyzing data.
Data collection, analysis, or just data analysis.
After data analysis, how can we use it to make more profit?
Okay, so how would we do that? How would you shorten it?
Profit.
Okay.
Profit.
Just profit.
One
word.
word.
Do it.
That's it.
That
you know what it means.
Attract a lot of people's attention. And you'll notice that Chris has been saying data and I've been saying data, and both are used. Okay, so let's just go straight to the answers for our questions. We're just going to read the answers. The first one is A. So we're looking for things that are wrong with the slide. We've already described a lot of them. A, there should only be 5 lines on the slide. Well, here we've got 6. It's too many.
Our next answer would be D. There should be 5 words or less in the title. It's a clear title, but it's far too long.
Too wordy. And F also is another one you should circle. There shouldn't be more than 5 words in each of the lines. We've already mentioned that. They're just too wordy and long. Okay?
Number 2, which word in the passage conforms to the main idea of 5-5-5 rule and 10-20-30 rule of PowerPoint?
You have to pay attention to the form of the word word. It's not words, because when I first looked at the question, I thought I had to say like words, lines, slides, number of slides. No. All they want is one word, and that word is
brevity.
You need to be short. That's it. And question 3, write down 3 methods mentioned in the passage that can help attract the audience's attention at the beginning of a presentation. The first one, A, is by means of telling an interesting story relating to your topic, and B, by means of presenting an amazing fact or statistic.
And finally, C, by means of
asking an interesting question. And that is it for today. Think about the rules, see if they can help you improve your presentations, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.